Alright guys, MTech Guy here. I'm up nice and early this morning because I'm going to be flying up to Auckland to get another BMW. So we're flying up to Auckland from Christchurch and I'm going to be driving down to Wellington throughout today. We'll spend the night in Wellington and then nice and early tomorrow morning I'll be getting the ferry across the Cook Strait there from the North Island back down to the South Island, and I'll spend the rest of the day driving down the coast of the South Island back to Christchurch. So I thought I'd bring you guys along for the ride, and I'll see you at the airport. Alright, we're now at Christchurch Airport, and then once we get to Auckland, we'll see what new BMW we've got for the channel. One thing's for sure, as of course you guys have probably guessed, it'll be black sapphire metallic, best colour. Alright guys, see you up in the air. Okay, so we've made it to Auckland and I've bought myself an E87 130i, N52 engine, manual 6-speed transmission, hydraulic power steering, yes, and of course, black sapphire metallic, best colour, I wouldn't have it any other way. Alright, we're going to jump in it now, we're going to get going on the road. I'll make another video once I get home, having a good look around the car, but in the meantime I want to get cracking, got to get down to Wellington before tonight, so yeah, we'll get on the road. Alright guys, we've made a stop off in Kaikoura on the coast of the South Island here, almost back home to Christchurch now. Yeah, just thought I'd do a bit of an update. First impressions of the car, once I jumped in it and drove away from Auckland Airport after meeting up with a guy who was a very nice guy. He'd been pretty much straight up about the car. I did buy it sight unseen. But yeah, as soon as I drove away, after the first 2 minutes, getting onto the motorway, this thing pulled so nicely. I'm so impressed with the car and I'm really happy. Now, if I'm honest, I've never actually driven one of these E87 130i's before. Well, I've done plenty of research, you know, and I've got a good idea of what makes up the car, you know, what makes it what it is and what makes it a reasonably special little hatchback. Like I said, done a lot of research and my expectations were pretty reasonable, you know. I was expecting a nice driving car, a nice little punchy hot hatch, but after driving this all the way down the North Island and almost halfway home to Christchurch on the South Island, I can honestly say this car has far exceeded what my expectations were. I'm just so amazed with this car. It's absolutely awesome. I'm really impressed. Like this engine, the N52, it's got a lovely torque curve, lovely linear torque curve, mated with this gearbox, this manual 6-speed gearbox with these ratios, rear wheel drive in this little body. Absolutely amazing little car. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's a little go-kart. Definitely isn't a little go-kart, doesn't feel like that. It almost feels like a little bit like the E46, but just slightly shrunken on the track and the length, only ever so slightly. But it did drive a lot nicer on the motorway than the E46. I always felt them a bit squirrely once you got up into really high speeds. Definitely not a GT car. And this certainly isn't a GT car either, but it did hold the road just slightly better than what my 330 Ci E46 did, the one that I recently sold. But yeah, this little car with this engine, this gearbox, rear wheel drive, is an absolute little rocket. It goes like shit off a shovel. Awesome little car. And even on the motorway, up in them high speeds, overtaking wasn't a problem. It's not like it was running out of breath at the top end either. That lovely, nice linear torque curve, and you click it up into 5th, 6th gear. Absolutely lovely, just lovely. And of course, it's certainly not an M car. I hear a lot of people saying that, oh, you know, it's not an M car, but you know, that's not what this car's about. This is something that you can use every day for so many different situations. You know, it's just so versatile. It's practical. It pulls really nicely. It's real sporty on the bends. It's a lovely little car. Lovely little car. So this specific 130i that I've bought, 2006 model. It was imported from Japan about 6 months ago, around December time. And the guy's only owned it for 6 months that sold me it. Very nice guy. He said when he first bought it, the dealer ended up putting him a new battery in it, did the rocker cover gasket, did the oil filter housing gasket. So there's some real just typical common problems that come along with these cars already sorted. Not really great for me with my YouTube channel. I would have liked to do them myself. Yeah, and it's done about 126,000 Ks. Now I've been looking for one of these for quite some time, and everyone that came up, they were either really ragged, in really poor condition, either high mileage or reasonably low mileage, but I say just not looked after, or the ones that were right just weren't the right colour. And I know, I'm always telling you guys, don't buy on spec or colour, go for condition. But I was holding out for condition and colour. And yeah, I got my black sapphire metallic. It was very important to me, of course. And so far on this trip, we've travelled 770 kilometres. Still got a little bit of a way to get back home to Christchurch, but almost there. And the car hasn't missed a beat. So far, so good. Touch wood. But yeah, the car's gone really well, real stable, no squeaks or rattles. The gear change is really nice, real positive, real smooth. Yeah, really happy with the car. The steering's awesome. Just two little gripes that I've found with it, especially with it being a long journey. The seats, although they're quite snug, and I'm a pretty skinny fella, they fit me perfectly. On a long journey, I have found them, I'm getting a bit of an ache in my arse and an ache in my back and my lower back now. Maybe that's because I'm 41 years old now, or maybe it's the seats, maybe it's the leather on the seats, I don't know. But compared to like my old E46 or the X5, them sports seats, I can travel for miles in them, and I feel great when I get out of the car, but I'm definitely feeling it in this car. And the other thing is, this one's got hydraulic power steering. Now, the ratio's absolutely spot on for most driving situations, but I did find when I was on coming down State Highway 1 in the North Island, on the motorway. There was a few potholes here and there. We have had some pretty severe weather on the way down, as you'll see in the video, so it's fair enough. But yeah, there's a few potholes, and I tried to sort of dodge out the way of them to avoid wrecking my new alloys. And yeah, I found that the car was really dirty at the front end once you get right up in them high speeds. So yeah, that was something that sort of surprised me. But in the grand scheme of things, you know, it's nothing, because the rest of the time the steering ratio was absolutely perfect. And then just one other thing I noticed, the suspension, although it's all right, comfort-wise, it's certainly no E60, and yeah, for the most part it was all right, but it did feel like either the shocks are the rating just isn't right on this car, or they're just getting really worn. The springs didn't feel too bad, but definitely the shocks, there's something just not quite right there. So we might just pull them off and replace them, or even just have a look at them. But otherwise, really happy with the car. Mechanically, it feels great. Cosmetically, it's pretty good. There's a few little age-related marks, but generally it looks like it's been well looked after. Now, I must have spent a lot of time in the sun in Japan. You can see we've got a bit of fade on the old windscreen pillar trims there, so we might have to get them sorted. But the leather's in great shape, the paintwork's in great shape. So yeah, really happy with the car. See, we've got a sticker in the windscreen there as well. The odometer was certified when it was imported from Japan, so that's a little bit of extra reassurance if they're telling the truth there. But the condition certainly seems in keeping with a car that's done 126,000 kilometres. So yep, awesome. Really happy with the car. Really glad I went up there, even sight unseen. Just went on this guy's word, and yeah, he didn't let me down. So awesome guy to buy the car off. Awesome car. I'm going to start heading home now. Hope you're enjoying the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later. Okay, so after driving just over 1,000 kilometres and 2 days travelling, we finally got the car back home. Now, you'll have to excuse some of the subpar footage, and the sound might not be that great either. When I saw this car advertised, I jumped on it straight away. I've been keeping an eye out for one for quite some time now, and the same night that this came up on one of the auction sites as a classified, like I said, I jumped on it straight away. I emailed the guy that night. We went back and forth a bit. I asked him about a million questions about the car. We agreed on a price, and then I sent him a deposit, and I said, right, I'll be there in 3 days time. I'm booking a flight, I'm booking a ferry and a hotel. See you then. So it was a case of didn't have time to grab all my camera gear. Well, when I say all my camera gear, I mean the one GoPro I use for the channel. But yeah, I just grabbed my iPhone and the headphones, and away I went. Okay, so why did I look to buy an E87 130i? Well, I've been looking for another BMW for quite some time now, and it had to serve a purpose. So it had to be practical, because the wife's going to want to use it. We've got the kids and whatnot. It didn't have to be massive, because the kids aren't that big at this stage. And this being a little hatchback with the 4 doors, it was perfect just to use as a bit of a daily. And it also had to be economical. But when I say economical, I mean in comparison to running the M5 with the S85 V10, or even the X5, which is our current family wagon. And often when the wife and kids are out in the X5, I'm just left with the M5, and I'm kind of sort of half daily driving that at the moment, which I really don't like daily driving that car. So this fills the void between the two just perfectly. And the old N52 engines, they're fairly reliable. Now, they're not super economic, but in comparison to the other two vehicles we've got, it's just perfect. And it also had to be something that was super fun to drive. You know, I didn't want just some boring practical car. You know, I wanted to be excited about driving it every time I jumped in it. And like I say, everything I'd read about these cars, it just fit the bill perfectly. Out of that, it had to be a manual, and the 6-speed works out great in this car. Now, I wasn't too bothered about getting a pre-facelift or a facelift car, LCI car. I know the later models have got their nice door cards and everything. Did get this one with hydraulic power steering, but fun fact, all of the E87 130i's that were sold in Japan all had hydraulic power steering. So even the LCI facelift models, they still came with hydraulic power steering. So yeah, got that N52 straight 6 engine, the 6-speed manual gearbox, rear wheel drive, and this tiny little hatchback body. Just beautiful. What more would you want? I was still hanging on to the X5 and the M5, and I'm still going to be putting out videos on both them cars, but I've got a few ideas what I want to do with this car. We'll do a few videos having a good look at it, having a good chat about it. Got a heap of DIY videos I want to do, them in the very near future. Thanks a lot for coming along with me today, guys. I'm MTech Guy. Thanks a lot for watching.